can get us recording again, get the timer started. Welcome back. My name is Chris Reshetar, host of Reshetar Radio. We have just been talking here with Preston Salmon, Home Inspection Carolina King, and Pamela Smith from Red Fox Realty Group. And today we've got some really super fun topics that we're talking about. Pamela, as you were talking earlier a little bit about your experience in the real estate market, we were sort of planning for the show, and you really felt it was important to maybe talk about luxury listings. That's an area that you kind of specialize in, and I really want to highlight what you do specialize in as a guest here on Reshetar Radio. But you had mentioned that maybe we talk about 7 key strategies to selling your luxury home. And so let's kind of jump in with number 1. And you mentioned that, or as we discussed this, that really it's your agent or realtor matters.
Absolutely.
That's the number one thing. Your agent matters. So you identified 4 key areas under your agent matters. The first one you said experience. Why don't you talk about that?
Experience matters, especially within this market. Experience matters because of who they know, who they're connected to, how they present that house, how they bring that house in front of other people. They can't just put it in the MLS and hope that it sells. It's a much, much more hands-on experience when it comes to luxury. And
I think confidence shows up a lot in experience too. I work with a lot of new agents, and they lack the confidence, and it really affects their ability to be as successful as they could be.
Yes.
Because they don't have the experience.
A lot of times sellers are kind of in their own way. And so to explain that, I mean, they aren't necessarily completely sure about why they're selling or what the deep down reasons are. And an experienced agent's going to be able to really talk them through that, get that out of them, really get a clear vision for what they want to accomplish. And just to be able to counter some of the holdbacks that they have when it comes to price or when it comes to marketing of their home.
All right, so the next thing you mentioned was negotiating power is important under the agent experience. Go ahead.
Especially with a luxury, you're dealing with a much, much higher price point. Right. And pricing that house right matters, and yet you're still going to have buyers that come in. And a lot of times with unexperienced agents, they're coming in and taking a look at that house. My background was executive coaching. I was in the sales end of executive coaching. So Fortune 100 A through C level executives. Flew all over the country, flew outside of the country dealing with high level executives. So I'm
You're comfortable with that kind of client.
Reading a person is what I did best. So I would sit in those meetings. I had to learn I had to be quiet. I had a $10 million contract to hold a secret over my head, and I had to sit and read the person and find out what the troubles were, and to be able to talk them through that as a group, as an individual, really negotiate that contract, and then write it up exactly the way they needed it. I had 100% sales ratio within that.
Wow,
100%.
That's out of 1,000, right?
Yeah, it was a lot of experience when it came to watching that person.
Wow, Chris, she's slumming it today. I'm just kidding.
I'm reading you as
I already said earlier, there might be the Pamela Smith show coming up.
Hey, that was $10 million today. It was like $10,000 person.
Well, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
But you bring a good point, and that is your experience in negotiating with these high-level executives transfers over to what you're doing here in real estate today.
Same professionalism,
right?
Which is another point of it.
And that's right where we're going next. So professionalism is the next thing. I think, in our industry, every once in a while we get plagued by that agent who didn't show up on time, didn't dress professionally, didn't make the return phone call, didn't know how to fill out the contract properly.
What are they doing?
Right, exactly.
I've had to coach them through, the dress is important, their look is important, of course. But it's really, I think you said it earlier, it's an attitude, it's a demeanor, it's a confidence. You have to really know what you're doing and feel comfortable with it, as if it's second nature. And because of what I did before, it transfers into the real estate world, especially luxury.
Perfect. The last piece you said, personal touch, is something that comes with working with you. Tell me about that.
Yes. So a face-to-face we mentioned that I'm in heels. I'm a 6 foot tall redhead with lots and lots of red hair.
The red fox
I
name.
can never dye my hair. I can never cut it. Apparently, that's my trademark, red fox. So, face to face, being able to hand deliver, door knocking. I door knock $1 million properties.
I love it.
I have no problem making that connection. Why? Because of my former professional life. I instantly read that person from behind the door and connect with them as fast as I can. So, agents are afraid to go talk with people.
Yeah.
And I prefer a face-to-face. I do lots of phone calls, but I prefer a face-to-face only because it's that 6 foot tall, redhead, memorable thing. Can't really forget once I've been in front of
Well,
it. So,
if
good,
you-
better, and different.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I have a $1 million listing, I mean, if it's my house, I'm sorry, I want an agent that's gonna be confident, you know, when somebody comes down, and, you know, they're gonna look out for my best interest. If somebody comes in and lowballs or something, that they're not gonna shy away, that I want that confidence. That's what
Yes.
I'm looking for, you know.
So you're back at that negotiating. It makes all the difference in the world. It really does.
Got it. Cool. Well, let's roll to number 2 strategy in terms of selling your luxury home here. You say communication is key to having a great experience. So that's kind of a vague area, vague comment there. So what are your thoughts on communication?
Well, it comes back to where I've been in my professional life. When I'm talking with a person, I'm talking to them. What their needs are, what their goals are, what their personality is, what their body language is. I'm mimicking them. I'm listening to them. I'm watching them. What their needs are, what their strategies, what they're thinking, and then I fill in the blanks. So it's my job to be able to communicate in a very detailed way according to who's in front of me. That's the first key to it. The other one is to be able to spread the news of that listing, of that
Getting the
estate,
word out,
getting
right?
the word out. You know, being able to go to events, kind of like your open house the other day, which was fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
You know, being able to go to events and talk with them and communicate without it sounding salesy, and yet very natural. I'm just talking about what's happening within the what's going on.
Well, and you communicate, and you're good friends with a lot of other luxury agents who also have, you know, luxury buyers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
I mean, when you get up in that upper price point, I mean, the percentage of people that could buy that, I mean, I hope I'm not coming across sounding, it's just facts.
So it
You
is.
know,
You're
it
right.
shrinks. So it's good to know other people who are well connected with these people, because you can tell them ahead of time, you know, I've got this listing coming on.
And I do.
And yeah, and you know, and you know that they have potential
Yes.
buyers that can, you know, that
It's just a smaller community, the
Much
people that work
smaller.
luxury, and so you have to have
you have to be
relationships
connected to
with the others that work that same market.
A
So
nice, solid, friendly relationship to communicate. When an agent gets a luxury listing, they call me or email me immediately. I mean, it's just something that happens real quick,
right,
and vice versa.
and vice versa. That's
Mhm.
cool. And I think a lot of our listeners that may have a luxury listing don't understand that those components are happening behind the scenes.
For
with,
years.
With
Oh,
a good
yeah.
agent that
Yes.
knows the luxury market versus maybe one that isn't in that circle.
Exactly.
So, all right, well, we've got a lot of things to talk about when it comes to your multifaceted marketing approach, how you market properties. So I'd like to kind of start going down this list. You mentioned something about professional photography being, you know, dynamic photos being key. How do you do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's photography for a house,
Okay,
and then there's photography for an estate.
Yeah, yeah.
okay.
And it's not just take a good picture with a little artistic view, which is great.
Yep.
I have a camera, I'm part of a club. I do not take the pictures, ever. It's a matter of having aerial shots,
Drones,
drones,
photography, yeah.
photography,
With music.
videos, with music.
Dynamic.
The
It's a lifestyle.
old days of taking a bunch of pictures and having it spin through a website of some music, but just still shot after still shot after, that's all gone. It's now presenting it as a whole. What is the feel of that house?
It's a lifestyle.
It needs to come
It's a
through.
Lifestyle.
Of the rich and luxury, right?
That's right.
Well, yeah, and it's not just the house. A lot of times, it's the house and the amenities and
Yeah.
the local area. I mean,
Does it have a pond with a fountain and like the one I
Trickling
just
water,
did? It was
yeah.
water was going, and they had
Koi
canoes
fish.
going through, and then another one had koi fish, you know. You've got to actually have that feel. So in the background, the water's trickling as I'm talking, you know. It's great to be able to pronounce and show all that. And so you have to be connected with the right people, the right vendors. I think you said earlier, Preston, you gotta know those people. Again, back to the relationships. It's all about the relationships. So you want to know a handful of vendors that can do that kind of thing, because it's always improving and becoming more as technology improves.
All right, well, let's hit one more before our quick break here. You mentioned something about you like to do showcase events. What are showcase events for your listings?
So everybody kind of knows what an open house is, where we put a bunch of signs out. We ideally knock on doors. I know I do, and call circle prospecting. And yet we want to do a little bit more. I actually do handwritten notes with invitations, RSVPs, being able to know what those things are. So much, much higher level personal touch.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to make sure I have those agents as well. There's two different ones that I do. I do a for friends and family, neighbors, people that I know that are looking to buy. And then I also do a broker one. We want to make sure that we have multiple levels of those events. And there's usually music playing, there's usually definitely a take-home gift at the end of it. It's a much different level.
Where are you going to be this weekend?
I know,
Yes,
right?
we need to go check it out, man.
I love broker opens. Those are always great.
Wait a minute, I don't think we made the cut. I can't
Well,
quite
we'll
qualify.
see.
All right.
Just kidding.
Cool. So, and you kind of mentioned leveraging neighbors and local communities. That kind of hit that all.
Well, then neighbors probably have friends, and sometimes the neighbors like to pick who their neighbor, you know, and
Well,
sometimes you don't even realize it, but they have friends that have been wanting
Yes.
to move
Wanting to
into
get in the
that
neighborhood. Or
It's
family
surprisingly
members.
high percentage then.
Yeah, and they go to the same clubs, or you know, they work with, you know,
They don't want just
they have
everybody
friends
there.
a lot of times that are, you know, that are in the same level of income, you know. I mean, I mean, I hope I'm not sounding all prudy on this, but it's just facts. I mean,
Yeah,
That's true.
that's the luxury.
People of like kind stick together typically. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. So if you have heard anything along the road here as we've been talking about the 7 key strategies of selling your luxury home that have interested you, whether it's a home inspection, mortgage needs, or real estate needs, you can give me a shout at 704-277-4463. That's 704-277-4463.